So I'm going to do a little teaching again today and meditation. And the focus of the teaching, and that the main thing is focus. There's a lot in the process of things. There's a lot going on, and coronavirus is just one thing, and it's like really, really bad. Yeah, and the main outcome of it is the people who are dying are elderly people from 50, to much older. And so those people then reincarnate with this terrible process as their next life. That's when they wake up, it's like coming out of a burning state, like coming out of a terrible attic of hell, dying in that attic alone, and having the worst fears come true. And then you die, and then you reincarnate. And most people, the one thing that carries over the worst is the violence or the way in which you die. Whether it be an aggressive death, a murder, some form. But that then transfers over as the biggest thing that inhibits you in your next life. And you have to work it out. I don't want it to happen. So to prevent that would be the best thing. To prevent that would mean to take refuge and to have gone on many, many stages of life to make a better world on a whole world level. Yeah. But we're not at that. We're at a really difficult place where humanity is completely unaware of what they're doing and the amount of death it's causing on a day-to-day basis, and it's generating more deaths in new ways. Yeah, and it mainly fosters the focus on everybody, on every level. Yeah, whether you are a child, a young child, this has been going on for a long time. Yeah, so there's been really strong processes of people finding out that in the past, children were heavily abused, when they went into these places where parents no longer can take care of you, an orphanage. Yeah, 3 million, went through it over the last 50 years, 60 years, and there's no historical process of anybody going and saying, what a great time I had and how good I turned out and all of that. Most of them want to forget it, live on and then die and go through what they have to go through, but not ever think of it again. So suppressing it is a very normal, natural process. When you're a child and you're 3 and 4 and 5 and you're taken from your family and you're put into this orphanage and you have all these nuns and they rape you and beat the shit out of you and throw many of the children out the windows and have many of the children die, due to their violence. And no one questions anything. No one questions, because they're nuns. They're nuns, they're priests. You don't even think about it. So hell does exist on earth. And it exists in the illusionary reality of world, where people put on false clothing and they masquerade as saints, and then they kill you, beat you, enslave you, and harm you to such a degree that you're humiliated 24/7. So this is a little experience.
Horrific abuse at orphanages. But America has never reckoned with the effects of the orphanage system, even though, during the 20th century, more than 5 million kids passed through it. Many of them weren't actually orphaned. Oftentimes, they had young single mothers, or parents who struggled with alcohol, the law, or simply couldn't afford to raise them. In the mid-1990s, more than 100 former residents of St. Joseph's Orphanage in Burlington, Vermont, came forward and said they had been brutally abused. But neither Vermont nor the federal government pressed criminal charges. If survivors wanted justice, it would be up to them to try to get it on their own. 28 of them sued the diocese, the order of nuns that ran the orphanage, and the local government agency that oversaw it. Christine Keneally is an investigative reporter who spent 4 years researching St. Joseph's for BuzzFeed News.
The only reason I was able to learn about this story was because these people in their 60s and 70s and 80s who'd been trying to forget what happened to them their entire life were willing to give me a chance, were willing to tell me their story once more to see if I would believe them.
Sally Dale lived at St. Joseph's from age 2 to 23, perhaps longer than any other child. She said the nuns there beat her regularly.
That photograph is a photograph of you at a time when you were receiving virtually daily beatings at the hands of people at the St. Joseph's Orphanage.
Yes, sir.
Repeatedly locked her inside a small container that was kept in the attic.
I could not really sit up straight. I definitely couldn't stand up. And you really couldn't lay down flat.
And sexually abused her.
After whatever happened in her bedroom, she'd bring me by the hair and bring me back to my bed. Of course, before that, she'd spank me in her room. Could tell me I was a bad girl. In the morning when we got up, she would have me sitting on the floor beside my bed, and she would make all the other kids laugh at me and tell them what a bad girl I was during the night.
But those aren't the most serious allegations.
I saw somebody push a boy out the window, and I was looking up at the building, and to tell you who the nun was, I can't say, but I knew it was a nun because she had to have it. And he kind of hit and
Bounced?
well, I guess you'd call it, it was a bounce. And then he laid still.
Not one of those children were believed. Not one. Yeah. And at the time, many of them, 18, 17, went to the police and filed complaints. And no one did anything. They went to court, they did all this, but they let them all go scot-free because they were nuns and monks. And, you know, that's the attitude. Tolerance, blind ignorance, yeah, and submissiveness to witchcraft. Witchcraft. I can show you in the Catholic Church, Satanism and witchcraft is abundant. They not only do exorcists, you know, to get rid of the devil, but they also perform witchcraft to manifest and get away with what they're doing. They're not just doing this because they're evil people. They're evil because they have forces of evil in them, substituting them as a nun. So obviously they're a witch or a warlock. And by no means are they a nun or a priest. But in those garbs and those activities, they are sacrificing children by the thousands. Yeah? And this we find in the same Catholic Church with men. But are they also doing it with nuns? Are they doing it too? Have you ever gone to a Catholic church or gone to a Catholic school? And the nun was consistently the most biggest asshole on the planet Earth, with no compassion or empathy or consideration or understanding? Yeah. It's like, what do? They go to the gates of hell and they start hiring people and put them in the suits of the Catholic suit. And then they run churches and places of children. Yeah. That's a fact. It's a fact. We know it's a fact. And people are so tolerant to evil and carry out evil so much in their day-to-day life that you can't see evil because you're doing evil. Even in the smallest sense of evil, you can't see evil. You have to purify to the point to where there is but the slightest evil inside of you. That is prejudice, bias, jealousy, enviousness, worry, anxiety, all those things. You don't conquer those things, they're demons. Yeah? And it'll kill you. Yeah? It'll cause you depression, it'll cause you disease, it'll cause you your death. But in the end, as time goes on, 500 years from now, we're going to find the source of all of this is demons. This is not a bunch of, spiritual people like myself and some new age thought, that, oh, we're just, like in the past, oh, it's the devil making me do it, and it's the devil. It is. I'm trying to make clear-cut understanding of this, why we're in this virus. And there are more things going on behind the scene you do not see. And they are rampantly growing on Earth. The abduction of children and the sacrifice of their lives and limbs by witches. And it's growing. It's growing. Yeah? Check this one out.
It is not part of our culture. It has never been part of our culture. It is something that is relatively new, but growing.
Ab'obuyinza bazinzeeko ekyawo ne bakwata basamize omusamize ne famire ye lwakubasanga n'obuwangwa bw'abantu babasanze n'engoye z'abafu abadde bakazikibwa.
It's very difficult to know the scale, but the numbers we work with each year is between 20 to 25 each year of children that we have.
Confirmed cases.
Confirmed cases each year. And those are just the numbers we know for us as a very small organization.
A 10-centimeter long scar on the back of the neck will be a lifetime reminder for 11-year-old Kanani Nankunda of the day his sister was killed and her organs harvested as part of a human sacrifice ritual.
We have a society that believes in witchcraft. The majority of the population, including the Christians who go to church, they consult these witch doctors.
Widespread concern over child sacrifice in Uganda emerged around 10 years ago, following an economic boom and rapid social change. Perhaps people saw an easy route to riches. Some witch doctors, using the cover of traditional medicine, find it all too easy to exploit the greedy and gullible, even wealthy businessmen and politicians.
They manipulate the mind of their clients, and when they see that this one is interested in money, is interested in wealth, and is so greedy, they'll go ahead and ask the impossible. They ask you to sacrifice a human being, and people have gone ahead to do it.
They call him the miracle child. A machete was sliced through Alan's head and neck in an attempt to behead him.
Back in 2012, the BBC investigated the case of Alan Sambatya.
The men Alan claims kidnapped him for sacrifice live in this village. They were arrested and released without charge.
Posing as businessmen with a construction project, the BBC captured shocking footage of one of the witch doctors Alan had accused.
We were introduced to this man, Awali. During the first meeting, Awali sacrificed a goat to bring luck to the business. A few days later, we were invited back to his shrine to discuss what he regards as the most powerful spell, child sacrifice.
There are two ways of doing this. We can bury the child alive on your construction site, or we cut the child and put their blood in a bottle of spiritual medicine. If it's a male, the whole head is cut off, and his genitals.
Kind of shocking, huh? This is today, in this day and age, just a week ago. Yeah? And yet in your mind you go, well, that's Africa, they've been doing that. People like, we don't know, it's not that uncommon, Da, da, da. You're lying to yourself. The man just told you it has never happened here. We have not ever done this. This just cropped up out of hell. A witch doctor demon shows up. And not just one, but many. And they're all over the earth right now. All over. They're in Nepal. Yeah, I got video of them killing goats and sacrificing children, but you can't see the sacrifice on video, but you can see the sacrifice of goats. And then you hear about the police relationship of finding dead bodies of little children who have been missing and been used and sacrificed. That's a holy place. It's a very holy place. I can show you documented reality of the history of the Dalai Lama and the history of Tibet. And they are most commonly known for doing this. When a new monastery is built, a baby is sacrificed at the steps, just like that witch doctor just said, in order to empower you, in order to give you a greater power. When you're a witch, and if you study Tibetan Buddhism, you'll find out, I, Milarepa, told everybody that these are witch doctors, all witch doctors. And they're out to destroy everyone. They're teaching people how to do it behind the scene and destroy people's lives, destroy their souls, possess them, control them, become lunar lords. Then they reincarnate and they become very powerful people in charge of countries. Yeah? They work themselves up the ladder. They elementally control stones and souls and other things, but then they get elected as a president or something. And you're wondering, how is it possible that witchcraft and dark forces, Satan and evil, could be present today on earth, and we're amongst it. And we have enormous demonic forces wielding control over killing humanity openly. Oh, I'm going to open the bloodletting points where we kill all the animals and slaughter them and force people to go back in there by the thousands. All who have died recently, all previous people who went in there left and it got closed because people were dying and got sick. But your president has opened those things up, as though that's what's important. Yeah, you weigh one over the other. That's how Satan works it. You sacrifice children, you sacrifice lives, sacrifice people for power. And in his mind, he's thinking, well, look, it could have been 1 million, but now it's only 800,000. Isn't that great? Yeah, he still gets away with killing all these people and is seducing you to think that he's doing a good job. Yeah. That he's got tests going like crazy, more than anyone in the world. But the reality is that each country is but 1/10 of the United States. Every state is a country in the United States. Break that down to 50 countries. Divide that. We're in a terrible position. Many of our countries are at the highest level of the whole world. Yeah? Yeah? Our states. There's just a few, and they're at the highest level of the whole world. That's not a good job. Now, if all the states had 100, 200, and you spread that out, and then we say, okay, we had this many, that'd be different. But that's not the truth. The truth is that we're not containing it. We're allowing people to go back out and walk around. People are showing up with guns, yeah, and trying to force the issue of getting us back on the street. Because we have a president who says, hey, don't you think everybody should get guns? Isn't it amazing that more people in the United States have bought guns during this horrible epidemic? Isn't that amazing? They're all good people. They should do that. That's what he says. And they show up at the Capitol with guns, like military armed police. making a statement. Yeah? And that affects the whole United States. And people run to the beaches, and it got filled up. Yeah? It's just, yeah, the way it is. But what allows people not to have a conscience? Yeah? What allows people to hear that an orphanage has raped and murdered, thousands of children? What allows them, the mass of humanity, not to have a conscience and stand at that trial and force it to the issue of every child being recognized as a human being who had a right and it had been broken? Not as a group, but as an individual, as a soul. It would have broken down so much inside of society if we had moved forward on such a thing. But we didn't. And the priest went on further. And we know that they just, think it's a game. It's a joke. They're just playing in this elemental thing. I can show you video after video of priests who are pedophiles who constantly say, I never raped, I never really did anything. It was kind of like a game. They were, into it. Yeah? And they're all manipulating the whole thing in order to see it that way. The child to see it that way, him to see it that way, and for you to not see it at all. Because it's so far from the truth of what's being thought or expressed or felt inside the priest or inside the child that's being raped. Yeah? So that affects all of us, and that gives us more and more illusion and delusion when it comes down to more of this witchcraft and warlocks, sex magic, and money magic. Yeah? And the sacrifice of lives. Yeah? So now we have a time to where we have an enormous homosexual relationship, and we have an enormous amount of little children being told that you're better off if you wait, just a little bit, to see whether or not you're a boy or a girl. Don't make that decision when you're young. Yeah? Foster a feeling, move in a direction that you feel you might be more persuaded to be, and let it grow. Yeah? They're doing that. Kindergarten is doing that. Books are illustrating it. The whole entire school system is built on it all the way from kindergarten on. You can't get around it. Yeah? Because there's laws against you not doing it. Laws against it. Yeah? Your teacher would be kicked out of school if a lesbian walked in and says, you're not fostering? No. You're not supporting? You're against it? The school will throw that teacher out in a minute. Yeah? The police force will not go against homosexuals. That unit, that whole field of area. Yeah? When AIDS first hit, we had the opportunity to close it off and create isolation, just as we're doing right now. We had the opportunity. But because it was homosexuals, we felt we should not close the baths. We should not isolate the homosexuals. We should not test them. We should not do any of these things that we're doing right now. And we have lost over 1 million little babies, 1 million little children, 1 million innocent lives to AIDS that should not even be in our human race. We should not have been subjected to it. Yeah, but we are. And we will not deal with the truth. So it's going to get worse. Yeah, because these witches and warlocks are not mothers and fathers. Yeah. 2 women cannot have babies. 2 men cannot have babies. These are not mothers and fathers. Yeah. They're surrogate human beings. Yeah. They do not play a part inside of humanity. Humanity is mothers and fathers who create humanity and create justice in relationship to the human family, householdership. Yeah? It's the basis of everything. Yeah? It's how life works. It's in the Bible. It's in every relationship to God. So this process is infiltrating into humanity, and I'm not saying, you know, oh gosh, you know, got to watch out for the gays and stuff. You know, I would say, let's look at the worst that's already happened. Look at transgender. The biggest mistake that will ever be made in human history. Because there is no such thing as being born a boy is a girl and a girl is a boy. It's being scientifically proven and being proven very easily. Yeah? You know, so it is something you choose and something you're fostered for, something you're actually motivated to do because you want love. You want people to love you. Yeah? Yeah, so this whole thing, check this out.
Michelle Cretella is the president of the American College of Pediatricians. She just wrote a piece in which she says, we're quoting now, transgender ideology has infiltrated my field and produced large-scale child abuse. Cretella says doctors are encouraging parents to have their kids change genders when there's no evidence these changes are safe or even helpful. Dr. Cretella joins us now. Doctor, thanks a lot for weighing in on this. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is this is a field, I'm not sure what it is, of social science or medicine that is changing so fast that it's hard to sort of know where we are exactly, and you're in the practice of providing medicine to kids, so I wanted to get your perspective on it. What are you seeing?
Thank you very much, Tucker. I'm glad to be here. I think it's important to say that everyone on both sides of this issue is concerned about finding loving and healthful solutions for all children. Right. Honestly, we at the American College of Pediatricians, and also I have many colleagues on the left, also insist that those solutions be rooted in reality, and transgender ideology is not. Sex is hardwired from before birth, and it cannot change. And that's why we'd actually called this child abuse, because by feeding children and families these lies, children are having their normal psychological development interrupted. They're being put on the puberty blockers, which essentially castrates them chemically, followed by surgical mutilation later on. This is child abuse. It's not health care.
So as you know, you will be, if you haven't already, be accused of committing child abuse yourself, and of being cruel and unloving and not caring for these kids, of imposing a medieval theology on modern children. How do you respond?
Right, but as you said at the beginning, this is about science. What is going on now with the puberty blockers, followed by cross-sex hormones, followed by surgeries, has absolutely no track record whatsoever. The loving solution for children who are ages 3 to 10, they engage in magical thinking. They don't know the difference so easily between fantasy and reality. We need to nurture them through adolescence, through natural puberty. Our job as parents and physicians is to help children embrace their healthy bodies. And when this is done, once they get past puberty into late adolescence, as many as 95% will come to embrace their bodies and identify with their biological sex.
So I mean, since this is not just something we're debating as college students, but there are physicians involved who are prescribing drugs, what do we know about the effects of heavy-duty hormones, synthetic hormones given to little kids, like long-term?
Right. Well, we don't have long-term studies, which is a major problem, which is why physicians should not be telling parents that this is settled science and that it is safe. We do know that when puberty blockers are used appropriately in other settings, that we have observed in adults for example, they can be used to treat prostate cancer and some gynecologic issues in women, that there's evidence that you can impact memory and cognitive ability in a negative way. And as far as the cross-sex hormones, if you have a young child on puberty blockers who goes directly to cross-sex or sex change hormones, they become sterile. You're sterilizing children. They can't possibly, little children cannot possibly understand the risk of having a medication and then never being able to have children in the future.
So I didn't know that. There's a lot I don't know about this. Again, this is all happening so fast. I don't think most people really know what's going on. But what's the youngest age at which kids are getting these kind of drugs?
The guidelines suggest that puberty blockers be given at ages 11 to 12, but I've had reports from colleagues across the country, and you can also find them in various news reports, that children as young as 9 have been put on these puberty blockers. And what it does, it arrests normal development. Puberty is not a disease. You know, you're stopping them. It's not just a matter of sex characteristics. You're arresting brain development.
There's a lot there. Dr. Catella, thanks a lot for that report. I appreciate it.
That's pretty horrifying. Yeah. And that is in every school system. Every school system. It's by law, it has to be. And right now, the church system is being sued or changed so that your gender cannot allow you to be gender in heaven, on earth, in the same way. Like Christ says, well, the priests are the representation of the Father. Yeah? So this holds Trinity. Yeah? And the nun is married to Jesus. This holds Trinity. Yeah? So there cannot be a fall inside this Trinity, yeah, because they're holding a relationship of emanation, of embodiment and responsibility. And that's the teaching, yeah, that's the teaching, but it's not the truth, yeah. It's because you don't know the truth. You don't know who this person's supposed to be. You say, oh, Father McDonald, whatever, you know, and you go, oh, Father, you know, and you nun, or Mother Teresa, yeah. And they're representations of these relationships, these embodiments, yeah. And they're not that, yeah. So they hold an enormous glamour that can influence humanity. And the glamour is the fact that the priests are gay and the nuns are gay. Yeah. And they're really pissed off. And they're anti-God, you know. And they're really, I mean, here they are, they're living their lifestyle of being gay and molesting and harming children, you know. And at the same time, they have to present themselves in a church or something like that, and people go, oh, thank you, you're so meritorious, you know, you're so holy, you're such a saint, you know, you're going to be a saint when you die, you know, kind of thing, because that's a delusionary impression that you're supposed to think when you look at these people, when you consider these people as who they might be, yeah. But these are false prophets. It's written in the Bible. This is going to happen. Where else would it happen but in my own house, you know? Amongst my own people, yeah, and doing the very worst blasphemy, you know, and doing it out of Rome under the people who killed Jesus. You know, it's a ceremony. It's part of the same as going on the cross. It's a continuation of a satanic ritual. Yeah, and everybody's blinded by it. Yeah. We're all thinking, oh, this is what this means, and this is what this is, and these people are what they say they are, but they're not. And since they are what they really are, lesbians and homosexuals, disguised as false prophets, you know, and raping the earth of money and turning money, you know, the church is the biggest money changer, you know, on earth for all evil. for people who have done evil. And if you go to Italy, you'll find that that's where the mafia sits. And you'll find that most of the priests were from the family of mafia. You all saw it on TV. It wasn't a joke. It was real. And it was worse than you ever saw on TV. A lot worse. Yeah? But nothing has ever come of that. That whole program came on, but no one says anything. No one does anything against the transgender, the homosexual, the activities that go on. The constant violence, the need to buy a gun, to own guns. Under anybody's reason, we're not going into an apocalypse and we're not going to have civil war. But we are all under a consumed consciousness under Satan. And the actions of Satan are our reactions. Like, oh, I don't want to stay inside anymore, or I'm not sure this or that, or, transgenders are fine. I'm fine with that law. I don't care if a bunch of guys go into the bathroom where the girls go. When they write that law, it doesn't mean that guy has to have a dress on. It means any guy who chooses to go in to a woman's bathroom has the legal right to go in, see what he sees, do what he wants, and walk out. You've ended rights, human rights. There used to be a thing called privacy that would give us human rights. That's the moment when privacy comes in, we have human rights. We close the door on our house. We're in a state of privacy. You do not have a right to interfere, in our homely, householder reality of love and kindness and considerations toward the rest of the community. Yeah? But these forces don't see it that way. Witches and warlocks put spells on people, and you don't know you're getting a spell put on you. Yeah? And they're all over Chicago, they're everywhere. You see the little palms on this, everywhere, on every major city. Yeah? There's a palmist. In every newspaper, there's an astrologer. And you're all facilitating witchcraft, paganism and witchcraft. And children are being allowed to go about being abducted or seduced. Yeah? Because we follow along with the practice. We're practitioners, people. Yeah? What is your sign? Yeah? If you even know your sign, you've gone way too far. Yeah? We really have to get to a place where all of this is gone and we could see clearly. Yeah? Right now, all the laws are in place and everybody's freaked out, and things are being said and done, and it's terrible. Yeah. But what is the effect more in the transgender realm?
One of the dire consequences of the cultural norming of transgenderism is the treatment of children who express confusion about their biological sex. At younger and younger ages, they are being encouraged to take part in what are called transition-affirming treatments that may be emotionally and physically damaging, and in some cases, irreversible. The evidence suggests that advocates of such treatments are more committed to a politically correct agenda than to science, or what is ultimately good for children. Because when it comes to children, here are 3 key facts those promoting the transgender agenda ignore. Number 1, despite what you often hear, scientific evidence shows people are not born trapped in the body of the wrong sex. If transgenderism were biological, then studies of identical twins should prove that. But instead, they show just the opposite. In a 2013 study of transgender twins, the largest of its kind, only 28% of the time did both identical twins, who contain 100% of the same DNA and are exposed to the same prenatal hormones, identify as transgender. That means that over 70% of the time, what contributed to one of the twins deciding they were the opposite sex of what they were born had nothing to do with biology. Number 2. After passing through puberty, the majority of young children who originally expressed distress and confusion about their biological sex outgrew it. We're talking 75 to 95% of such children. But with the widespread push to embrace and affirm transgenderism, perhaps it shouldn't be surprising that more children are questioning their gender. In the United Kingdom, for example, a government-affiliated health service dealing in gender identity issues for those under the age of 18 experienced a 2,000% increase in patient referrals since 2009. For children under the age of 6, the referrals have increased by over 400%. Number 3, medical treatments often used to treat children with gender dysphoria have not been proven safe. Serious questions remain, including whether such treatments may cause obesity and testicular cancer in males, and decreased bone and muscle growth and infertility in both sexes. No rigorous scientific studies exist to show the long-term physical or psychological effects of puberty blockers and cross-sex hormone treatments on normally developing children. None. The rush by the media, cultural elites, and politically correct medical organizations to normalize and embrace transgenderism has no time for fact-finding. So much for science, and so much for having the best interest of children at heart. Parents, beware.
Yeah, this is a mass scenario, yeah, and it's brainwashing, you know, from an early age. And you get people like grandmothers who, for some strange reason, want to dress up their little grandson while they're, you know, just babysitting. No one else is around. There's tons of stories on that one. Yeah, very, very common. Or a mom who just really felt this kid has more feminine tendencies and would bring it out and affirm it. And that's what a grandmother would do, and that's what an aunt would do. These are, on the feminine side, the transgender energy is pushed a lot, yeah, into boys. Yeah, it's a recruiting process of someone who's already started off with a psychological problem. A mother, a grandmother, an aunt, an uncle. They're already psychologically wrong. Yeah? And they're passing those psychological problems on to children. And it's just a mass hysteria, a mass delusion of what could be, what is real. Yeah? And these people are psychologically imbalanced, and they're seeing the same view and supporting it because it supports a more feminist world. Yeah. Yeah. As though we'd be better off if all the boys turned into girls. Yeah. We'd be better off if everybody learned out that they were mainly feminine and guys would be more bisexual, yeah, and homosexual, and then transgender, you know, all these MCGDKL, all these things, yeah, that are all things that are not real. And what comes down is reality hits, and you have a massive nervous breakdown, and you can't fix it. You can't get your penis back. Can't get your body back. The parts are gone. The hormones have been completely transferred. You know, you've regenerated a whole new scenario. Yeah. And you've created a social condition. Now you're inside of a terrible scenario of a lot of other people who are doing the same thing. They're saying, oh, you can't step back. That would be an affront to the whole entire, you know, issue. The gay movement. Yeah. The feminist movement. Yeah. You know, so there's an outcome to it, and it's called hate. Yeah, we all want to think that this feminist side is a side of compassion and love and caring, consideration and everything. But every living human being has hate inside them. And if one side has a lot of hate, and it's all jealousy and enviousness and all kinds of stereotypical crazy delusions. I'm a princess, I'm this and that, you know, or a guy thinks he's the, you know, God's gift, football player, basketball player, a delusion of grandeur, yeah, or a body type. Any delusion is an outcome of this process, this energy of lower psychicism. Yeah, so its outcome, where it comes from, what's coming at you, is hate. The outcome is that everybody suffers. We're all suffering right now. Why is that? Hate. The transgender situation is based on hate, not on compassion. Those laws aren't based on compassion. Because inside of it, there's something consciously that knows this is killing future children and future grown-ups. Killing them. There's no good outcome on this. No good outcome. So every law and everything, every statute, every flag of the rainbow, everything that comes out is murder for children. That's the declaration, is hate. Yeah? Hate. Yeah. You know, so we're going to have hate while we're in the middle of needing compassion and empathy. We need people to work together because they care about their other people. They care about children. They don't want to give them sick. They don't want to harm old people. They don't want to harm people. They want to put a mask on, and they'll do what's right. But if hate is in the lower part of the masses, then it controls the lower masses to move forward and battle against light. They will push people to go into the left-hand spin. Get outside. Don't listen to it. It's all fake. I don't even believe a virus exists. It's all made by Bill Gates. It's not an existing thing. All these crazy-ass people who's got the guns are making those statements. Yeah. And where does it start? The President of the United States. That's crazy.
Is this the right time to kind of bring in a Second Amendment issue?
I think when they talk about taking your guns away, and if you notice, at the beginning of this pandemic, there were more guns sold, I think, than at almost any time in history. So it's obviously a big issue. And then you have them working and signing documents trying to take your Second Amendment away, essentially. So I do think it's an appropriate time to bring it up.
Sales are double what they would usually be right now. He says one reason is because his store is in an area with a big Asian population.
Just people like discriminating, which really, I think people are kind of overreacting.
Lynn says some customers are worried that because of their race, they'll face discrimination.
Well, one of the things that happens with the protests around the Capitol in Lansing is that Michigan does have an open carry law, and there are many open carry advocates who take every opportunity to protest in Lansing with AR-15s hanging from their chests. You can see that not just yesterday, but on a fairly regular basis. They were particularly prevalent yesterday. They were not the group that actually put on the protest. It was called Michigan United for Liberty was the name of the group. It was odd that they went to try and get on the House floor, and that's the video that we shot yesterday. In fact, it went viral. It's had like 12 million views, where they were trying to get onto the House floor. Michigan State Police and the sergeants at arms were preventing them from getting in. And part of their frustration was the fact that the gallery upstairs, which is where they would normally sit, had been closed because they were socially distancing a lot of the representatives. representatives and us in the media in the back. So they had a video room, but that wasn't good enough for them. They were quite angry, quite upset, and wanted the governor to know that they feel that she has been slow-walking her reopening of the state and that the economy is suffering as a result.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC.
Yeah. So there's an effect that moves through, and in where I come from, it's called Maya. Yeah, it comes out of the lower nature, and it breeds into people, and it has glamours. They're very clear, you know. And if you are a person whose consciousness is at the elevation of just the physical body, you're those people with the guns. You're those people with a violent reaction. If a person comes up to you, slaps you in the face, what is your reaction? Say there's 4 people standing there, and you go up to one person, you slap that person in the face, and that person immediately slaps you back. Well, that's one of these gun people. That's their level of nature. Yeah. And then go to another level of nature, and you have a person standing there, and you slap that person, you know, and they immediately jump back. But then they come forward and they start talking you out of not doing that again. Yeah, they don't hit you back, but they're still a little aggressive, and they're still, you know, not ready to just let it go. Yeah. Then you go down the line and you finally get to the last one in a 4th level. Yeah. And when you slap that person, nothing happens. Not a thing. You know, then the person just goes, do you need to do that again? And just wait, you know, for you to do it again with a smile on their face. Yeah. And that's a consciousness. It's the same kind of human being, each one a human being. But where I come from, human beings come in 4 different kinds, made of 4 different elements. And how we react are one of these 4 elements. Yeah? And we either bang, or we grab, or we confront, or we let it be. Yeah? And each one has a state of consciousness to it, and we can't help it because it's the element of lower nature. It's not until we get to that 3rd element, that 3rd person, that 3rd being, to where there really is no real reaction. You know? But there's no, you know, do it again. You know, it's just no reaction. Yeah. But by the time you get to the 4th one, you know, things are so clear, and there's no elemental lack of merit, impurity. The nature is so high. The response comes out in a human, a natural human response, not a supernatural, but a natural human response. That's what we call humans. Yeah? When you're in that 4th position, you're a human. Yeah? And then Native Americans, we try and be in that 4th position. We know these positions, and we try and be in that. Most are settled down into the 1st and 2nd, and they cannot get out of it. They're drinking, and they're going through all this process, and they know they're in these positions. Yeah? They know that they're completely confronted by that. Yeah? So there's nothing in the world that's not in the same boat, same position. Yeah? But it's all a matter of whether or not we move from this person to become this person, to become this person, to get to be this person. Yeah? It's just our evolution. Yeah? And we get there. It's not like it can't happen. This person does exist. So it means that we all can get there. Yeah? And we're all going to get there. Yeah? Under the guidance of knowing that this exists. We're in this law of hate. There's no knowing that this exists, and we have to make laws and decrees and make stupid mistakes and say no to what's right and right to what's no. You know, we're living on the opposite reflection of a mirror. You know, things that shouldn't happen, happen. Things that do happen, shouldn't happen. You know? And only by the grace of God are things happening under God's plan. But that is a completely unconscious reality to humanity. They're not making choices. inside that area of God's plan. Not a whole lot of people ask for electric cars. Not a whole lot of people ask for solar. Not a whole lot of people ask for the wind generators. All these things that are in the midpoint that are provided by God in a plan, that needs to be fostered by both sides, this side over here and this. But everybody's on this side in a knee-jerk of some form of hate. Yeah? Does that make sense? Some form of hate. No matter how passive you are, no matter whatever, it still can be registered as hate rather than love, because love is an extremely highly sensitive state of wisdom. It's an attainment. It's not something you say, I love my dog, and that's love. You don't know what love is when you do that, Love is so much bigger. Love is understanding and seeing what causes suffering in the world. Love is compassion and empathy, yeah? And love is not reacting to it, because that reaction fosters it. Love is the ability to be willing to see it, and have it happen to you, get slapped, and then give back the right reaction. Yeah? So all of us, we have these things going on. We have this coronavirus going on. We have poor people who believe they're transgender, and it doesn't exist. There are more people who think that they're gay, and it doesn't exist. There's a lot of people who hate women who are men, and men who hate, or women who hate men, and the hate doesn't exist. The prejudice and the bias, the programming, the hate that is put into things, thinking that God is a machine, even that relationship is based on hate. How we look at the mechanism of the body is more based on hate and ignorance than it is on revelation and supporting more and more and more understanding of wisdom. It's really hard to crack open wisdom and have that be what everybody understands, the view that everybody sees. So we stick with things that are ridiculous and aren't true, all the way through medicine, through science. We are sticking with what's not true. And to me, that's really scary. Yeah? Because it's in there that you can find the truth. All you got to do is not stick. Don't stick to anything. Yeah? Because it's all based on an element of hate or fear-mongering or fear projection. It goes into the writing, it goes into the typing, comes out of the mind, out of the soullessness, into the paper. And you want to think, oh, there's no human being behind this. There's no element behind this. There's no force of any kind behind this. But it's not true. Just like Picasso, you'd think, well, he's a great artist, but he's a crazy, perverted man. And if you buy one of those things, you'll be possessed by the elements that are in it, the demonic spirits that are in it. So in the end, we find out, oh my God, we actually need to burn these things. Yeah? And it's like, what? Now he's saying Fahrenheit 451. But we have to come to a discernment to realize the actions and people that we think are saints aren't saints. Yeah? And that once we come to this determination, to some open higher consciousness, all this disease will stop coming our way. It won't come our way. We'll deal with it quickly, because the people who come across it first will have a conscience, not lie about it, and come up with all kinds of fictitious reasonings, political understanding, whether it be communism or whatever. We're in the millions now. And every place it got stuck in a center of delusion and hate. People just couldn't move forward. And they made every single one made the wrong decisions. So that's all based on our influence of things that are happening behind the scene that we're not aware of, that we need to become more aware of. So we need to clean up this thing around pedophilia. We need to put a great deal of money into it. We need to put a great deal of political effort into the closing down of this LGBT. You know, we need to put an enormous amount of scientific understanding into this and save those children and give the right for psychology to practice a way to stop being homosexual. Right now it's illegal for psychologists to practice that. It's illegal. That's insane. That's why I stopped all my school, you know, because everything was based on whether or not we're going to do surgery on people to make them into males and females. You know, if you practice medicine, you're going to be pushed into that scenario. And if you're a psychologist, you cannot treat people who are homosexual. You have to accept it and tolerate it and help people attain what is their choice. And to me, that was satanic. So I left the whole thing, yeah. So there's an enormous amount inside of every field, whether it be politics, all the things that I'm developing the new group of world servers to awaken in are the things that are really, really, really dangerous. Yeah. You know, so prayer, invocation, evocation, yeah, great thing, because there's a counteracting principle, you know, that sits inside of every living human being, and that's the Holy Spirit and the power of overshadowing. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what the person is, who the person is, what they've done. If they call on Jesus Christ, yeah, if they really do, if they call on Jesus Christ and orient themselves to the belief that God's going to change them, that you want change, and that means that whatever it is that you got to change is now you got to have to face. Yeah, it's going to come up. It's going to happen. Yeah, and you're going to have the grace and the ability to not let it affect you. Yeah, the record of what caused it to come around doesn't stimulate you again, because it's all coming from the past. And your past is erasing your future. It's turning you, everybody, into their worst enemy. Because we're doing manifest destiny. And we have the power of following destiny. Yeah? But we subject ourselves to manifest destiny. I'm going to change my genes. I'm going to change my male, female. This is manifest destiny, people. You know, I'm going to carry a gun. I'm going to stop everybody from doing the right thing. That's manifest destiny. And in all truth, we do not have the legal right of manifest destiny. That means no one has a right over you. You have more power and right over the masses than the masses have as a collective. Manifest destiny believes that it can control the destiny of the whole of the universe just for its own personal desire. So you go to a witch for that. Does that make sense? Why would you go to the witch? Why? Because manifest destiny tells you to. What are you going to do when you get there? You're going to do something to change the future and the outcome of the future and the present. Nothing to do with the past. Not fixing the past, not eliminating, you know, other than maybe you got cursed, you know, by another witch and you got to clean that up and, you know, all those weird things that happen the moment you walk into one of those houses. Yeah? So it's all an art of manifest destiny. Whether you're practicing astrology, manifest destiny. Yeah? Whether you're a doctor who really thinks that every single diagnostic process that you've got worked out is absolutely correct and accurate. Yeah? And where it's going to go, what is going to be its outcome, that's destiny. You don't know. You don't really know the outcome. And if you add other things to it, like energetic medicine, flower essences, things that will allow a natural healing to go about, but your positive mind thinks like that, and the negative mind thinks like myopic. And it has knowledge. Does that make sense? That knowledge is a direction toward manifest destiny. The more knowledge you have, the more you control the future. Yeah? It's just, you know, it's just like astrology or numerology. It's knowledge. Yeah? But it's knowledge that may not be true. Just because it's knowledge doesn't mean that it's true. Yeah? You know, so we get all kinds of knowledge. All kinds of knowledge. And we need to become more spiritual and not react to knowledge. Because knowledge will seek out things of our own failure and keep us locked up in a failure zone. You know? And it'll like a curse. It'll keep coming back around, and it'll come out in manifestation. It'll drive you nuts. Yeah? And every single thing is brought together by the elements that come from that left spin. We have no idea, you know, how it will manifest. But I'm telling you, our healing as healers is a relationship of discernment and discrimination, and being able to know where the real cause of your illness lies. It lies in transgender and homosexuality and the hidden, perverted reality of the abuse of children. Yeah? That's what causes you suffering. That's what causes you illness. It's not about you. It's about you being bodhisattva. Every one of you. And about you caring for everybody. But you can't. You don't know what's going on. You can't feel it, but it's causing you so much suffering. Yeah? Yeah. And I'm in a position to where I know what's going on. And I stay in that light, and I bring that light, and that is the light of Christ. Yeah? That light is what comes into people, and it helps them alleviate their suffering. It gives them a rebirth outside the zone that they've been stuck in, and they're wondering, you know, how long have I been there like this? Yeah? And every single time, I honestly believe it's always God that's going to liberate you. Yeah? You know, you're always going to give testimony in the end. You're going to, through all the worry and pain and suffering, it's not going to be God. It's going to be personal, it's going to be suffering, it's going to be this and that. But in the end, you know, there's a good 99% chance you're going to come to revelation. And that revelation brings the healing. And you recognize that, and that healing brings about a change. Yeah? And so if we're going to bring change in the world and bring change for children and stop the priests from doing what they're doing and stop the false prophets from doing what they're doing, causing so much harm and creating a future of reincarnation in the world, of more suffering and more psychological problems coming into people once they're born. The moment they're born, you die transgender because of suicide. Yeah? That's one of the highest rates of suicide is a transgender. Yeah, the other one is then homosexual. Yeah? To die that way and to come back, you know, and not having worked it out before you died and then commit suicide in the process is a structural process. Yeah? It structures people into enormous, what we call miasms. Yeah? And that becomes a whole new characteristic, you know, like we look at the generation, you know, of millennials, you know, they have certain behavioral characteristics. They come from previous life of a generation of behavior, you know, and that carries over. And same thing with others, it carries over. Yeah? Yeah? So the whole process of being able to help bring this into a light is the process of invocation, evocation. Yeah? It's discernment and discrimination. Yeah? So when I do my pujas and I give my darshans, I'm expressing things that is monad. Yeah? And that is a place that you in this life, you don't get to experience it. You experience it when you're dead. Monad. What it's like to hear my voice. What it's like to meet me. Yeah? You don't experience it until you're dead. So I understand why it is you don't experience it so much while you're alive. Yeah? Because there's this place in the soul that you're liberated that allows you to see the Lord. Yeah? Yeah? But it's this process. My invocations, my pujas, my etheric weavers, you know, even though everybody's asleep, yeah, and they won't see me until they die, yeah, I'm okay with that, yeah. The main thing is that I'm here as the healer. We have a virus that's really bad. We have homosexuality that's taken over. We have complete lack of discernment and understanding. We have a future of suffering children to a number you will never be able to believe. We have crazy people telling you by the millions you're going to go to Mars and live there. And all of that is a lie. It's a lie. It's not going to happen. If it even tries to happen, it's going to be a horrible event with horrible diseases and horrible outcomes. So the outcome of it is a lie. It's not whether it be transgender or living on Mars. It's a lie, and it's an outcome of hell that will ruin you for your future lives, not just the one you're going to get stuck over there with, or stuck in a body as a transgender or as a homosexual. Yeah. But it will make it so difficult for your reincarnation. Yeah. Imagine losing your body in Mars. Yeah. You have to reincarnate, make your way back to Earth. Yeah. This isn't a joke. This is very serious stuff. I don't want to lose souls. Yeah. And when you take people off this planet and you lose their body off this planet, God has a very difficult time collecting that soul. And that's not good. And you do not understand. Yeah. And I can only tell you the truth. Yeah, I tell you the truth now, and you'll hear it 500 years from now after the effect. And everybody will say, Jesus, he's been here since 1951, and all this kept going on. Yeah. It's really important to understand that my darshans are the monad. Every moment that I'm speaking is the monad. I don't have an ability to express non-monadically. I'm not just a soulful being, I am the soul. Yeah? Any part of soul that you're going to have comes from me as the illuminated reality of an incarnated soul. Yeah? But I'm really the monad. And that means I have no free will whatsoever. And I am here for destiny alone. I was incarnated for a reason, for time and space, and I bring destiny. Nobody else brings destiny. I am the tree of life. Yeah? So that can heal everybody, as long as we have an understanding of invocation, evocation. And that if you listen to my pujas and take the time, if you have the opportunity to listen to them, if you actually close your eyes and listen and not let a moment go by, you'll be amazed what you just heard. Even though you heard it 1,000,000 times, yeah? You'll be amazed because it's monadic. You actually were given an opportunity to be in heaven while you waited. You were lifted up into heaven. Yeah? And there wasn't not anything keeping you from ascending. Yeah? So my whole job is to raise people up from the dead. Yeah? And bring them to life. Yeah? Everybody raised up from the dead. Yeah? You're all going to die. But this is it. It's most important that we realize the purpose of the Lord. And the Lord gives life. Yeah? So let's do what we can to try and listen to these pujas and listen to these teachings, because we have evil all around us. We have homosexuals everywhere. We have laws that are focusing upon the land and humanity. And it's all coming from lower nature. Yeah? And we can't turn toward a human being and think that human being's going to save us in a book or in a piece of paper or in a doctor's office. Yeah? You might get a little bit here and there. You might get some satisfaction. But it's not going to be what it is you need to be saved. Yeah? Unless you're getting what it is that's keeping you from being saved. Yeah? And this is a very dark place. And there are things you don't know that's happening that are affecting your well-being. Yeah? And everybody on this earth. Yeah? So, I'm going to do this invocation, and we're going to do a puja, and that'll be it. Okay. Okay, just repeat after me. I invoke the power, the love, and the wisdom of my ashram, soul, and monad. To guide me into the right activity in the plan. To clarify and stimulate my mind. To transform and transmute my feelings and emotions. To energize and vitalize and heal my physical and etheric body. Through this day and every day, I ask this in the name of the Christ to serve the One. All in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So this puja is the 7 rays of God, alignment of the 7 rays of God. And it's the teachings of the 7 rays, and it is not even something that's taught at the highest level in Tibet. It's something only taught by me, and it's only taught through a few, you know. And because it is a monadic teaching that helps to facilitate God and a manifestation of the soul. And the 7 rays are the soul. Everybody has one of the 7 rays as their soul ray. Yeah. But each one of those rays come from the body of the Christ. Yeah. And in each one of those rays have a masterful expression that allows me to give these teachings and see the things I see and help make changes in the world that need to be made, because we're based on these 7 rays. Everything is, and the nations moved by these 7 rays. Yeah? Everything has a soul, everything has a personality, everything. So this invocation is an invocation to find the 7 rays of God, yeah? And align to the 7 rays of God, and to bring the 7 rays of God into the work of the world, yeah, bringing about change inside of humanity. So the invocation is to raise people up, yeah, into a process where, if you look at homosexuality, it shows the 7 rays in the opposite spectrum. Yeah, they're turned upside down. Yeah, if you look at the natural spectrum of the 7 rays, they start red on the bottom and orange, and then go up like that and end up in violet. But that's not the gay way. It's the opposite direction. Yeah, and that's the same if you were to turn your chakras upside down. Yeah, and as Buddha said, everything in this world is upside down. Whatever's being told to you is the opposite. So now you need to be calm, because your discernment, your middle point, is going to change it. Yeah, simply because you exist. You're super special. You're a super being. Being a human being, that is our gift, is to change the pairs of opposites. Yeah? To make a difference in this world by dispelling glamour, eliminating it. And it's not like a big deal. We don't have to carry out some magic act or anything. Yeah? We just need to come in contact with me, receive these rays and these teachings that are going to take a long time for you to understand what I'm saying in those teachings. But they affect you because they have wisdom in them. They're all the truth. Yeah? So way down the line of destiny, the truth will fulfill you. It will manifest and unfold as you're awakening. Yeah? And each awakening will be an awakening of the rays, finding alignment, each ray getting stronger, each ray being in correct alignment, each ray more balanced, yeah, to the point to where you're a human being, yeah, a human being, yeah, and not like a superhuman being or you know, a Superman or a Supergirl with super powers and all this stuff, but a human being that can discern and discriminate and can invoke the Lord into their presence so that the Lord could be on earth and walk amongst people. It requires that. The Lord gives people free will. That is what that free will is for. You either require me and then ask for me and prepare the way. Because I won't sit amongst thieves and liars, and adulterated reality. You have to prepare the way. If you don't, I will make this a very sick scenario. Because it's a healing crisis. And I have no way of changing things until I can help you better understand the rays. Because you're made up of these rays. This is the science of God. It's just as scientific as your belief system and a doctor telling you if you take this pill or you do this diet or you do these things, they will bring about an effect. I am better than that. And this is the truth. It has no quasi-little effect in some myopic scenario. This is something that leads you through destiny and takes away the illnesses, takes away death. In the end, it does. You go from one life to the next in an awakened state. See that in little Buddha and the lamas when they leave their body, they sit there meditating. And they're in that state even after they're dead. For over 5 days, they're still in a state of meditation, yet their body has stopped. That's not uncommon for a very high yogi. So an awakened state is everybody's ability. Not to be suffering, but to live a life of awakened state. And that's the goal for every living human being, is to have a soul and learn what that means. To be the incarnation of the soul. And watch it change yourself from personality to soul. Then you can reflect back and forth. So it's these 7 rays that do it. So I do this invocation to bring about, at times like this, possible healing on a mass level, which I can do. I can heal this whole planet and boop boop, But I need some cooperation, If merit isn't on a balanced state, I cannot by law do a healing. Does that make sense? Anybody who receives a healing receives it because their karma is adjusted to that. There's no going around messing around with karma, taking Hitler and putting him on a throne someplace and making it okie dokie. He's going to have to go through a healing crisis. He's going to have to go through his tribulation. He's going to have to become a human being. And it's not because I shook it out of him or I did this and that. But he has to take it out of himself. Does that make sense? So my whole thing is to be the radiating aspect. And I give these teachings that you do not understand, but they're so important for you to understand because it is the science of God. And you could seek out doctors and all kinds of nutritionists and everything in the world, and I sit here and I will give you direction in those areas. But in the end, they will be the direction. It won't go, oh, well, kind of, You'll literally find that is the direction. There isn't a whole lot of back and forth. But the key thing is to receive the invocations, because we don't know these higher teachings, and we can receive them, and they can change us. In a subconscious way, they can change us, because we're very enlightened beings. We just need to be woken up. And if we take them in and receive them, these formulas that I put out are the formulas that can heal the world. The whole world. And keep us from going out to other worlds and causing more harm. We're here for a reason. So let's enjoy. All right, let's do this puja. I invoke the sense of hearing in the seventh ray, hearing the word of God.
penetrate the personality of humanity and express its collective soul. The seventh ray and the fourth ray as the mineral kingdom. Vegetable kingdom. The third ray and the sixth ray as the animal kingdom. The fourth ray and the fifth ray as the human kingdom. The fifth ray and the second ray as the egoic soul. The sixth ray and the third ray as planetary lives. The first ray and the seventh ray as solar lives. ray soul and serve the lighted way. I invoke Spain and its seventh ray personality, the integrated sixth ray soul, to disperse the clouds. I invoke Brazil and its second ray personality, to integrate its fourth ray soul. I invoke the entity of this planet, the planetary logos, to incarnate the light and the beingness of this planet. I invoke the expression of the second ray force into both the personality and the egoic ray of nature, and the personality and the egoic ray of humanity, to fuse itself and its light into its healing process. I invoke the esoteric law of solar energy to make manifest the cosmic force of light, love, and peace. Okay, just relax. Okay, you can open your eyes. All right, so if you can imagine, just to take it in consideration, that Christ has been on this earth before there were human beings, and every living human being was created by him. He's the mother and the father to every living human being. And the behavior of every living human being affects his kingdom, which is the kingdom of the soul. And every single human being was born on this earth from that kingdom. So I know for a fact everybody's has already been received in heaven and was born here through destiny, through the hand of God. Your name, your identity, your look, even your direction in life has been guided. Yeah. There hasn't been a moment in time the Mother, Father God hasn't taken care of you. But this delusionary pagan scenario that completely wipes out and gives us all kinds of myopic delusions as to how and why we're here and what we're for and what we're doing and how everything works. you're losing your guide. Yeah. You're losing your reference to where you get your life and where you get your truth and where you get anything. You know, it all comes from the tree of life. It comes from the Lord. The Lord keeps it on time, keeps everything on time. Yeah. And when things are in a more balanced place and people are really truly Christian and really truly one with the Lord and living a good life in the right way, you know, the influence of the Lord becomes more present in people's lives. Yeah? And the ability to witness or experience the plan of God, which was the reason for putting everybody here in the first place, yeah, was not to have overpopulation. It wasn't that. Yeah. It was to be in a balanced state. Yeah. So the process of humanity has been over-exaggerated inside of a delusion of grandeur. Yeah. The free will decision-making process of humanity has separated themselves very much from destiny and went into Maya and created the delusion of the astral plane, which fostered birth to take place at an exponential rate outside the plan. And that means millions of people had to turn into emanations because there's only so many souls. They were created by Jesus Christ. Now, I can show that through transgender. You start off as a boy, you end up as a girl, you're two people in one life. Yeah. And you can go from one thing after another, many lives like that. Yeah. And lose yourself. And as we do this separative world, we live in a separative, selfish state, we break off into emanations. We become twins, we become emanations. And we could be 100 of us, individuals, where we should only be one. Yeah? But we are overpopulated. And we have an enormous number of emanations. Yeah? And it doesn't bring balance to anything, it brings psychosis. Yeah? We have to work out a way to integrate our soul, which is now separated into a multifaceted, delusionary personality. That 1 minute it's one thing, next minute it's another thing, and we cannot grasp real truth, real reality, because we conceive a world that we are the ones that manifest it. We are destiny. Yeah. We can have 20 children, we can have 10 children, we can have whatever we want. All we got to do is just choose. Yeah. And bring that about. Yeah. And you could be in any given situation and move that into that scenario, but every time we keep developing more and more and more in this way, we thin out the consciousness because we become more emanations. Yeah, and it's very rare do we get, those who don't go off into separation but stay singular as much as possible, they stay higher in the consciousness and they can help to move society along, help get things going in certain ways because they don't have multiple personalities off in different locations doing different things. Imagine what it was like. Imagine multiple personalities. You got Einstein, you got Tesla, you got all these people that all are the same being, basically. And none of them can cooperate with each other because they're not magnetically attractive. They're competing against each other in a state of destiny. Where in reality, if they were overshadowed by the same one soul, they could have worked it out and we would have gone hundreds of years into advance. Here we had the electric car, we had the electric maker, we have all the same technologies and advancements to make a battery as we do today. We could have moved ahead through cooperation. Yeah. We could have moved ahead through many different technologies. We could have contained homeopathy rather than going off into what it turned out to be. And electric cars turning out to be just these gas-driven jalopies that would go out to be many millions of cars that just ruined our pollution and brought oil into the surface of humanity. You know, where we could, if we had worked together. Yeah? And that's where separation comes in. Somewhere along a line, long ago, souls were split apart. Yeah? Whether it be Cain and Abel, souls get split apart. When they come off in emanations, they're polarity. They're one's a negative, one's a positive. Yeah? And it just is a struggle from that point on. It's not really meant to be that way. If you look at the process of Adam and Eve, their process was that the children that they were to create, the ones that they did actually originally create, were the process of destiny. But the ones that came after the fall became the process of manifest destiny. And then we have all these things, and the one line of destiny, you know, that comes through Abel and Enoch and Adam and the whole thing, all the way to Jesus. It's a one line of destiny that originated with Adam. Yeah. You know, so, but it gets split off into the whole of humanity because of this act of separation done by Satan. Yeah, and it created into our collective consciousness what was to be the actual creation of soul. There was Adam, the actual creation of soul, you know, and then it got separated. Yeah, the influence from all of that and all things, whether it be in Tibetan Buddhism, I can show you the same story. I can show you the same story in Hinduism. I can show you the same story in the Muslim reality, in separation. You know, it's all a matter of separation. You know, so all my teachings is to bring about a science that you really can't get your head around, but if you can have enough faith and put your time and energy into it, it will pick you up, it'll raise you up. Yeah? And there isn't a thing out there in the world that can't be healed quickly over the time that I'm here. And I'm here. I've been here 69 years. I don't have any idea how long I get to stay, you know, but I get to come right back. That's a fact, yeah? But the longer I stay in a singular state of consciousness, the more powerful it becomes for the changing of humanity, yeah? So I'm pushing for this to go on and on and on and on and on, yeah? And for this to raise people up, because that's my science, is to raise the dead and bring them back to an awake state. And then we begin circulating back to where we go back to our souls. And we have about 1/3 the population we do today. And that'll happen in about 200-300 years. But slowly but surely, we will all become soulful. And in doing so, our emanations come back into our body when we die. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I have many emanations. And every time they die, I get new characteristics, new ways of seeing things. It's an amazing experience. I had no idea, you know, such things of separation was really weighing on me. And I know the same thing happens inside of all of humanity. Just that you have no idea. Could be thousands in your case. You know? In my case, it's people like Elvis Presley, and, you know, they're just going crazy out there. You know? And they have no idea as to why they're so blessed and why they have so much charisma and so much power and why they're so attracted to Babaji and so attracted to Jesus, and they think that they're a Messiah, you know, and they can't come to any clarity with it because they're emanations, yeah, and emanations aren't really meant to be existing, yeah, it's all to be back into the individual soul, yeah. So that's the teachings. Try and figure that one out. Enjoy yourself. Have a great one.